Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. Welcome back to my channel. So I wanted something bright and happy and fun. So I'm going for a yellow gold base. I've already painted my sides and I'm working on a 20 by 20 inch canvas. So this is the yellow gold by Amsterdam, and I've mixed all of my paints today with just water. Mainly 1 part paint to 1 part water. And I'm also adding 2 metallics by Pebeo. I've gone for the copper and the gold. So let's take a look at the rest of the colour palette. And this is a raw sienna. I'm also going for vermilion. And then I'm going for a nickel yellow. And those 3 colours are by Amsterdam. The metallic colours of copper and gold are by Pebeo. So as I said, I've mixed all of my paints with just water. It's very, very fluid. So that works well for a Dutch pour technique. So I'm going to put my base colour down and I'm going to blow out from the centre. When I do a canvas, especially like a square canvas, I will always blow the paint in on itself so the centre is fully covered. And then what I do is I use my hairdryer on a cool setting to then blow from the centre to the outer edges and then down the sides. By doing it this way, it allows me to control the paint, and it also allows me to really kind of fully appreciate the consistency that I've got on my base. I want a consistent layer, because if you can get your base right, then when you blow out your design, it should flow really well. I'm just going to use my torch to get rid of the air bubbles, and those air bubbles have been created because I've just recently mixed all of my paints up. So I'm looking to create like a twist. So I'm doing like an inverted S shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick one of my colours. I'm going to go for the copper, and I'm going to do a line where I want to layer my paints. I'm going for an S shape because that will help me with the twist, and I want to blow out a lot of colour at each end of that S. And by having a line, by doing that first colour first, is my guide. So I will now use that as a guide for where I lay out the rest of my colours, and it will help me look at the overall composition as I blow out that piece. It's almost like a stencil that I can use by using that line first. So I'm going to take each colour in turn, and I'm going to layer the colours on top of each other. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blow dryer on a cool setting, and I'm going to blow out the line that I've placed down on top of the base colour. So I don't know what the weather's like in your part of the world. So as you know, I'm based in England, and we've got a bit of cooler weather at the moment, a bit rainy, a bit cold, and I'm just looking so forward to the weather when it changes to the spring and summertime. Summer is actually one of my most favourite seasons, and I can't wait for a bit of warmer weather. So I wanted to create a piece today that basically speaks that to me. So when it's rainy outside or it's a bit cool, I can look at this piece and it just reminds me of the summertime. So now all my colours are layered down. I'm just going to flood the canvas a little bit more with the base colour. And I do this around the edge of the colours that I've already laid down, because when I blow the colours out, I need to ensure that there's enough paint on the canvas to help with the flow of those colours. If there isn't, then the colours aren't going to flow really well. So by having more paint on the base will really help those colours flow that I've just layered on top. Are you ready? I am, let's go. So I'm just going to get some of that base colour and blow it in on those colours that I've layered on the S kind of line. And then I'm going to take my blow dryer, and that's when this design will come to life. And as you can see, I'm just using my blow dryer and guiding it in the shape of the S to start blowing out those colours. And then once I've done that, I can go to different sections of that design and blow it out further. And remember, the paint that's down can always be added to. And there are certain sections where I think I'd like a bit more of the red vermilion colour. So I'm just going to add some more in. And just by adding a few more dots will ensure that I can have that colour consistency all the way throughout that twist. It's almost like a flame or a twin flame where they meet together. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of that colour, and then I'm going to blow it out a little bit further. And you can always do that. If you're working with 4 or 5 colours and you don't think that there's enough of one colour, don't be scared to just add a little bit more of that colour on top and blow it out. If you put too much on, then you can always blow it off down the sides and tweak it. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm just taking my time now to look at that overall design and that overall pattern. And I can tweak it as I go because I've got my main kind of design and my main creation down already. So this part is about looking at the composition and the overall design from the canvas. And once I've used the blow dryer to do a lot of the kind of the blowing out of that design, I just go in and use my mouth just very gently to blow out some of the edges a little bit further. By using my mouth, I can almost control it a little bit more. Okay, it's looking good and I'm happy. So let me take you in for a closer look of the wet version, and you can see some of these gorgeous cells that have formed and how those colours have infused with each other. And the colours that I've chosen, one thing to bear in mind when you do choose a colour palette is how different it may look when it dries. Now the colours that I've chosen today will dry similar to what you see when they're wet. So that's something to bear in mind. There are certain colours that I've used before. For example, Prussian blue. It's a lot lighter when you're kind of working with it, but it dries really dark. But this yellow gold base will basically dry as you see it. And as well as all the colours that are layered on top, they will dry very similar to the wet version too. I am just mesmerised by some of these details, and I'll take you in for a little bit more of a closer look at some of that detail. And I really love those colours that I've chosen. And you know what? It reminds me of summer, but obviously the colours and the colour palette that I've chosen for this creation could almost also be autumnal. So it's almost a double season twin flame. So I think I'm going to call this the twin flame twist, because it's almost 2 seasons coming into one. So that's the wet version look, and I'm sure you really want to see the dry version look too, just to see how everything's dried and how those colours work really well together. So let me take you in now for a dry version look, and you can see how these colours have almost stayed the same when they've dried. I really love this design. I really love how the metallics shimmer in the light, and that copper, wow, that copper is just gorgeous. And I really like the contrast between the yellow gold base and then the metallics, the metallic gold and the metallic copper on top. I think they work really well together. And I really love some of that definition and design within that twist area. Love this piece. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know if you like the colours, and let me know if you'd like this creation, and if you're going to give this a go yourself. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and I hope you have a great week ahead. Take care, everyone. Bye.